From worst to first, we've seen it before, and there are a handful of NFL teams where you could make that argument this season. Washington did it from 2019 to 2020 in the NFC East. Now, granted, the NFC East was so bad last season, they actually won with a losing record. But still, look, it happened, y'all. Other worst to first division winners, taking a look over the past 10 years, it has actually happened every single year but two. We didn't have one in 2014 and in 2019. So who could do it this season? Let's welcome in NFL writer, contributor to the Pick Six podcast, and also the $1,000 man, John Breech. John, I get to talk to you for free, but people are willing to pay $1,000 to talk to you, huh?
Man, I'm even charging my own family to talk to me right now. So you're in luck getting this for free. Take advantage of it.
The $1,000.
The $1,000 bet. We do want to note the money went to St. Jude. It was for a very good reason, but we appreciate your opinion, and that's why people are willing to pay to talk to you. So you have a couple of teams that you think could go from worst to first, and let's start with the Falcons.
Yeah, I have a list of teams here. The Falcons are pretty low down that list, and the reason is they're in the NFC South. They're in the division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are returning all their starters, with Tom Brady. That's not going to be an easy division to win. But if you are the Atlanta Falcons, here's what you're thinking going into the season. If our offensive line can hold up, we could have a very high-powered offense. Obviously, we have Matt Ryan, a former NFL MVP, Calvin Ridley. Sure, they lost Julio Jones, but they arguably upgraded because they're bringing in Kyle Pitts as the tight end. You get a young, healthy kid who could be a superstar versus an aging wide receiver who was on the tail end of his career. And you know what? If you look at the NFC South, there's two things you have to be hoping if you're the Falcons. Number one, that Jameis Winston totally flops in New Orleans. That would take the Saints out of it. And that Father Time finally catches up to Tom Brady. If Brady just regresses a little bit, the Falcons could maybe weasel their way into division title talk, but a lot would have to happen for Atlanta to win it, which is why they're fifth on my list of most likely worst to first teams.
I'm not sure if fifth and fourth should be switched, but maybe this is why you're making the argument here. Your next team is the Broncos. They finished 5-11 last season, recently naming Teddy Bridgewater as their starting quarterback. John, how do you go against the Chiefs? Please make this argument and all the hypotheticals.
Yeah, I actually like the Broncos. If you look at what they did last season, they finished 5-11, but 6 of those 11 losses were by one score. And a big reason they weren't winning those one-score games is because they weren't getting competent quarterback play. This team only averaged 20.4 points per game last season, I think, which was bottom 5 in the NFL. So their defense was good enough to win the division. It was their offense that wasn't coming through for them. And if you don't have an offense that can score, you can't win games against teams like the Chiefs or the Chargers or even the Raiders, who have a pretty good offense. But when you look at the Broncos' offensive weapons going into this season, you have Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. So all you need is a quarterback who is not going to throw interceptions, who can just be slightly above average. And I think that is what Denver has in Teddy Bridgewater this year, which is why I have them fourth on my list of most likely worst to first teams.
They are fourth, coming in at third. You're going with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, he got a new coach, a new quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. But in order to snag Trevor Lawrence, they did have the worst record in the NFL last season, 1-15. Make your argument for the Jags.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty high ranking for a team that went 1-15 last year, especially when Urban Meyer seems to start a new controversy every week. He took half of Trevor Lawrence's snaps away for that weird quarterback competition he had with Gardner Minshew that we all knew Trevor Lawrence was going to win. But my reason here isn't so much about Jacksonville as it is about the rest of the AFC South. You look at the Houston Texans, they're in total disarray. They might be the worst team in football. The Indianapolis Colts, there's definitely a few question marks. They seem to have a new big injury or someone new on the COVID list every single day. We just saw T.Y. Hilton be put on injured reserve. And you look at the Tennessee Titans, as recently as this past weekend, they had 9 players on the COVID list. They struggled with COVID last season. That could be an outbreak waiting to happen. And if things fall Jacksonville's way, it's possible they're the last team standing. And also, this would require Trevor Lawrence having a huge year, which is within the realm of possibility. He's the #1 overall pick, and he's got incredibly high expectations this season.
I love this. I love this segment because we need all these things to happen, but they could happen. All right, second on your list, you got the Eagles. So Washington did it last season and the NFC East with a losing record. You get Dak back for the Cowboys. So why the Eagles here?
Yeah, let me just be clear. The Eagles are the second highest team on this list, but they are definitely not the second most talented team on this list. This all comes down to the division they play in. They are in the worst division in football, the NFC East. Yes, the Eagles finished 4-11-1 last year, but of all the last place teams in 2020, they came the closest to finishing in first place. They only finished 2.5 games out of first place despite that 4-11-1 record. So they don't even have to be that good in 2021. If Jalen Hurts can go out there and lead this team to 9 wins, there's a good chance that 9-8 could win this division when you're looking at the rest of the divisions where it might take 10, 11, or 12 games, which is going to be a lot tougher for those other teams to do. So I like the Eagles just because I don't think they have to be that good to win the NFC East.
Not that good to win the NFC East. Really quickly, because we do have a little bit of time here because that division is so combobulated, if you will. Setting that aside, a team that could go from worst to first, who do you think will ultimately come out on top in that division?
When I look at it, I do like the Cowboys. They burnt me last year because I picked them to win division in 2020. But, Dak Prescott got hurt. Now that he's going to be completely healthy, I expect that to be a high-scoring offense. I think their biggest question mark is on defense. Can they stop anyone? They couldn't stop anyone last year. I don't know that they've gotten that much better. So as much as I'm selling myself on the Cowboys, and I know Amanda's from Texas, it was a fake out. I don't think it's going to be the Cowboys. I like Washington to repeat, which is kind of crazy because no one has repeated in that division since 2003, 2004. But I like Ryan Fitzpatrick under center. I think that was the upgrade they needed. And I think Washington has the best defense in that division and probably one of the top 3 or 4 defenses in all of the NFL.
This is why you're worth $1,000. You can pull those stats out of your head there. All right, the number one team on your list that could go from worst to first, and this does feel the most realistic, San Francisco 49ers. They went 6-10 last season, landing at the bottom of the NFC West. They were hurt. It feels like 90% of that team was hurt last season. A lot of them, most of them are healthy. So give us your argument here for the 49ers.
Yeah, it really feels like everyone on that roster went down with an injury at some point last season. They were absolutely decimated. And despite that, they still went 6-10. And more importantly, they went 3-3 in the division, even though they were dealing with injuries. That's not easy to do. That's the toughest division in football. And if you look at the past 2 years, not just last season, but also their Super Bowl season in 2019, they've kind of been dominating that division. They went 5-1 in 2019, so that's 8-4 over the past 2 years. So I think from a coaching standpoint and a talent standpoint, as long as everyone stays healthy, they are the best team on paper. And now you throw in Trey Lance. We have no idea what he's going to do, but Kyle Shanahan's one of the smartest offensive coaches in football. I assume he is going to have plenty of packages. He's going to keep opposing defenses on their toes. So this isn't just my worst to first team at the top of my list. I'm actually going to pick the 49ers to win the division this year. That is how confident I am that San Francisco is going to turn things around.
John, this is the first time we've had you all in a while leading up to the football season. We had Pete on earlier this week, and we were asking him about the 49ers' decision to rotate Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. He absolutely hated it. He said, pick one of them, just go with that. So I want your opinion on that, on the rotating. Or if we do go with Jimmy Garoppolo for a while, how long is it until we see Trey Lance come in?
I will say that 99% of the time, I'm against a QB platoon. You just want to have, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. I think that's the saying that Frisco probably used. That's what a lot of NFL coaches will say. But I like it in this situation because Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo have such different skill sets. They both seem on board with this. Jimmy Garoppolo knows he only has 1 more year in San Francisco, so he's going to have to play his butt off this year to earn a big contract next year, and that lets Trey Lance ease in there with those packages that Kyle Shanahan will make for him, and he's only going to design stuff he thinks Trey Lance will thrive in. So I actually love this combo. I think the 49ers are going to be really good this year with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance both getting plenty of snaps.
And your number one team going worst to first. John Breech, Please don't send a bill because I cannot afford to pay you $1,000 to talk to you right now. That's why we get you for free. John Breech there. You can hear much more from our good friend John Breech on the Pick 6 podcast. I'll get to that in a second. But again, recapping his worst to first candidates coming out on the top, the 49ers, followed by the Eagles, the Jags, the Broncos, Falcons, Bengals, Jets, and Lions. Christopher, hello. Do you, taking out the 49ers, is there another team you like here to go from worst to first?
Falcons have the best chance.
Falcons, his fifth team there. And as mentioned, you can hear more from John Breech on the Pick 6 podcast. Everything you need to know about the NFL, and right now, their very latest podcast. It is gambling week. We're looking at futures there. Rookie of the Year, MVP, Defensive Player of the Season of the Year. Make sure to download and follow.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.